Welcome back to the Sober Sex Sofa. My name is Shanti Patty Owen. I am your host for this channel where we discuss sobriety, sex, and mental health. So I was very promiscuous for quite some time. My promiscuity ultimately brought me into prostitution. I am a sex addict, love addict, an alcoholic, a compulsive gambler, and a debtor. Why am I qualified to talk on this next video? It's because I'm a sex addict, because the topic of this video is porn addict or porn tourist. So you might not have heard that term porn tourist before because I made it up. I'm not saying that all pornography is bad or addicting. I am saying, just like alcohol, not everybody is an alcoholic. There are some people who could have a few drinks a week. They're not disturbed by it. They haven't lost their job, their house, their spouse, and they seem to be okay with that. Then there are other people like myself who is an alcoholic, and I can't go there because bad things happen. It's the same with pornography. So there are some people who can watch pornography like once or twice a week or a couple times a month. They enjoy it. It enhances their sex life. No problem. Then there are another group of people who watch pornography for several hours a day. Now, you might want to say, well, it's not like a substance. They can't die from it. But there are severe consequences to people who have a major sex addiction. They can lose their job because what happens is, over time, like any addiction, you need more and more of the substance or the behavior to get quote unquote high. So they start watching pornography in inappropriate places like the workplace. Several people have been fired from their jobs because they do computer searches on the regular and find out that the person is watching pornography while at work. Another consequence of pornography is losing their spouse. Over 50% of divorces have been attributed to porn usage. The third consequence of pornography is erectile dysfunction, which they are now calling porn-induced erectile dysfunction, which is PIED. 20-year-old men are now going to urologists and therapists because they are complaining about erectile dysfunction. This did not happen decades ago. And here's the difference and the dangers of pornography from when I grew up and coming of age in the 70s and pornography nowadays. With the internet, the birth of the internet in 1993, pornography exploded. And not your kind of soft, focused, beautiful women from Playboy magazine. We're talking hardcore pornography. That generation are now growing up, and when I say growing up, the average age of the first exposure to pornography, they are now calculating, is between age 5 and age 7. That's the first exposure. And the regular pornographic viewing happens, they've figured, around the average is age 11 for hours every day. Pornography rewires our brain. And the biggest consequence, this is consequence number 4, is that it makes it very difficult to have a romantic relationship with a partner once you get addicted to pornography. This is a very sad consequence of pornography. And again, if you're a porn tourist, I am not talking to you. I am talking to people who think or know they might have a porn addiction. I want you to know there is help. There are so many institutions that focus specifically on porn addiction. Now, I have a sex addiction. The form that my sex addiction took was not pornography. I preferred people over pixels. So I was very promiscuous for quite some time. And my promiscuity ultimately brought me into prostitution because I was having so much sex with so many people. I figured I might as well profit off it. Crazy addict brain thinking. So I do go to several 12-step programs for sex addiction, and I have heard many men discuss how challenging it is for them to get sober off porn addiction. Now, there is a reason why men tend to be more focused on porn rather than in-person sex. Well, one, it's easier to get, especially if you're married. You can go in your den, you can wait till your wife goes to sleep, do it in your living room. It's easier to do, it's cheaper. And also, men tend to be more focused visually. So they like to watch images that excite them. Women tend to be, so that sort of makes men voyeurs, I guess you would call that. But women tend to be more interested in physical contact because women need validation from men. I don't know if this is biological or if this is cultural, but I do know it's true for me, and I know it's true for many women. One of the reasons why we like to have sexual encounters with men is because we get validated, our beauty, our sexuality, our desirability. So men will tend to be the larger group of people that are suffering with pornography. But because of the internet being made available to boys and girls, there are now young girls that are also becoming addicted. So back in the 30s, when Bill Wilson wrote his book about alcoholism, he referred to it as men. He referred to the people who were addicted to alcohol. He referred to them as him or her, or how his wife would suffer also because of his alcoholism. Because back then, alcohol was more of an addiction for men. So we might be seeing, just as alcoholism has risen with women, we might also be seeing pornography rising with women. Now, let me get back for a moment to the porn tourist. Now, I would consider myself, even though I am a sex addict and I did lots of insane things sexually, acting out, pornography was not one of those arms of my addiction. So I would watch pornography maybe a couple of times a month. And usually those times that I watched them was with a boyfriend or my ex-husband, my second husband, who was addicted to porn. So I was trying to make him feel, as women often do, more right about his shame. And so what I did is I created, on Monday nights, it was kind of a quiet night. So I said, let's have Monday night be porn night. So we'd watch porn together while we had sex. But it really wasn't my go-to. But from all of the people, and mostly men, like I said, who suffer with porn addiction, that I experienced their grave challenges through the meetings that I attend, it's quite debilitating. So as a porn tourist, I think it's fine to watch porn occasionally. I know there are people out there that say porn should never exist. I'm not in that camp, or at least I'm not in that camp yet, because it didn't affect me in that way, just as some people can have a few drinks a week and it doesn't debilitate them. There's pornography, because there's so much pornography out there, you can find the type that fits, that suits you. Now, here's the challenge with pornography. Because of this high-speed internet pornography, it is hardcore. And it's really tempting, even if you have a particular niche of pornography that seems pretty vanilla, it's very tempting to click, it's one click away, to look at something that's extremely violent, degrading, and we might not think we are attracted to that. We might actually be repulsed by it, and then a repulsion can quickly turn into an attraction. So, if you are a porn tourist, my biggest suggestion to you is do not scour the internet for some out-of-the-box type of pornography that is dangerous, violent, illegal. And stick to being a tourist. We love tourists. It's the addiction issues. And I know so many people out there suffer with this. You might want to know, how did all this begin? I mean, of course, there has been sexuality since the beginning of time, and probably there was pornography written on caves back in the caveman eras, is my guess. But here was the beginning, at least in the last century, of what we know, which really amped up pornography. In 1948, Dr. Alfred Kinsey published a groundbreaking book that was a bestseller called Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. Businessmen jumped on this bandwagon, found a way to profit from this new idea, and pornography exploded since this time. And in 1953, that's when Hugh Hefner published his first issue of Playboy. Now, I know women from even back in the 50s and 60s and 70s have been complaining about pornography. But pornography is nothing like it was back then. I mean, I used to look at Playboy in the 70s when I was 13, 14 years old. I was so curious how my body was going to develop because I was a very late bloomer. And I was like, wow, are my breasts going to look like that? Oh my goodness, am I going to grow all that hair down there? So for me, I was fascinated to see a naked woman because I never saw my mother naked. And it wasn't, I'm not saying that there weren't any hardcore pornographic magazines. Sure, I'm sure there were, but I didn't see them. They weren't very accessible. And by the way, back then, a boy or a man had to go out of his way to purchase these magazines. It wasn't easily accessible like the pornography is now, the hardcore pornography at one click. So here's the problem with internet pornography. A, it's accessible anytime, anywhere. And B, you can find the most hardcore pornography ever created out there. And it is terrifying. We're talking about violent images, objectification, yes, sure. But we're also talking about an increase in sex trafficking as a result of porn. It has been proven that men who visit prostitutes frequently watch a lot of pornography. And what's happened with sex trafficking is that there are fewer and fewer women that are willing to do these type of activities that men are seeing in pornography. And so the sex traffickers have kidnapped women into sex trafficking in order to provide men with these experiences via pornography. And a lot of men are not even aware of that their porn watching is actually fueling sex trafficking. And on an individual basis, pornography prevents men from having intimate relationships one-on-one because the type of excitement they are getting from these visual pornographic scenes cannot be matched by a human. But what happens are, and this is what I know because I have heard these success stories, especially from men, in my sex addiction 12-step programs, is that it took them a while to get sober off of pornography. But once they did, they realized that having sex with a human, and I'm not going to say with a woman because some of these men are gay men, but having sex with a human, with an intimate partner, with the sights and sounds and smells and the nervousness, because pornography is a selfish endeavor. It's really about self-gratification. You don't care how the person on the screen is feeling. But having sex with a human is a mutual pleasuring situation. You can get much higher and happier from that situation than you can ever get from pornography. Remember, if you would like some information specifically on 12-step programs that can help you and support you, please send me an email at sobersexsofa@gmail.com. I'd be very happy to send you direction. I just don't give that information out publicly. And please come back again and again. Have no fear. Shanti is here. Whatever questions you have, I will do my very best to help you and to give you guidance and direct you in an area that might help you. Please give a thumbs up or two on this video or any of my videos that you like. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, and come back because I want you to get comfortable on the sober sex sofa, because when we live in fear and secrecy, that's when addiction issues can grow. Come back. I so look forward to seeing you next week on the Sober Sex Sofa.